We're joined from Cairo by Mr. Ashraf Abu Al-Houl, editorial director of Al-Ahram newspaper. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to Qnews. And what are the potential global economic repercussions of the Houthi attacks disrupting Red Sea shipping lanes?
For sure, there is an impact on the Red Sea, and the Red Sea is affecting the navigation, and it's also affecting the revenues from the Suez Canal. Many of the ships are not using the Suez Canal and going to alternative routes like the longer routes. Egypt has lost billions of dollars because of these Houthi attacks.
Now, how might the Houthis' expanded attacks on international shipping impact the global trade routes?
I believe that the Houthis have reached to the maximum limit of their harm to the global economy and the global trade, and maybe the hits on them by the American-British attacks and the Israeli attacks, maybe this will be affecting their capabilities to further disrupt the navigation. Maybe the Houthis are still utilizing the reserves of the missiles and weapons they had from Iran, but their capability to manufacture more weapons is not very likely. They are more relying on the Iranian experts and the Iranian ones who assist them in Yemen, whether manufacturing the missiles inside Yemen or operating the platforms for launching the missiles. But I believe that the latest attacks on the Houthis and the latest hits on their fuel reserves, electricity, and so is disrupting the Houthis. The number of attacks by the Houthis against the navigating ships is much decreased, and probably in the near future there will be more decrease in their attacks, and maybe there will be a decisive hit on the Houthis, whether by US and Britain or by Israel. I think this is being planned now. So it is not like the Israelis it's not like the Israelis don't have a bank of targets in Yemen. They have, and maybe they are trying to find the most appropriate time to attack. And there might be plans to assist the legitimate government in Yemen to topple the rule of the Houthis by carpet bombing of the Houthis.
But despite all what you've said respectively here, and despite all those attacks by world alliances, but Houthis' persistent attacks challenge Israel's image as a regional military powerhouse.
The Houthis have got a lot of reserves of missiles hidden in the caves and in the mountains, a lot of hidden platforms. So they will using these assets in these platforms. But this doesn't mean that these capabilities will last forever, because even the ability of the Iranians to convey the weapons and the components of the missiles to the Houthis or to their other allies in the region is much decreased now. We know that Iran at one point was establishing factories for missiles and drones in Yemen and Syria. And these factories by Iran have been destroyed recently. The Iranian experts are now fearing for their own lives in the region. So even if the Houthis has got a reservoir of missiles, it will be depleted at one point. The Houthis don't have air defenses, and the missiles they launch are not much affecting Israel. It is just making very limited impact. But the Israeli anti-missile defenses are working against these missiles. But the impact on the Houthis by the American and British attacks is much greater than what is there. And the Yemenis are also as people suffering from this.
Indeed, they are. But so far, the Houthis' mockery of Western missile defense systems affect perception or the perceptions of the US military capabilities in the regions. That small power is standing to challenge those great powers.
I believe that it's more of a propaganda by the Houthi side, because it did not affect the Israeli aggression on Gaza, and it did not affect Israel as such. It only made a propaganda impact. But in the end, the targets being attacked are inside Yemen, and it is a loss for the capabilities of the Yemeni people and the Yemeni population. So attacking Israel by missiles and drones, not actually making a real loss inside Israel or a real damage inside Israel, is pointless, because the attacks from Israel is really demolishing Yemen's capabilities. Maybe the nationalists and Islamists feel happy that they see Israel being threatened and the Israelis are going to the shelters. But in reality, there are no real impact and no real losses inside Israel. There is more impact on Egypt by harming the revenues of the Suez Canal and the countries that are affected when their ships are attacked. And Israel wants to finish and end the resistance axis, and the ones who pay the price are the Yemeni people in the end.
Indeed. From another perspective, how do the Houthis' recent military actions impact humanitarian efforts and civilian populations in Yemen?
The attacks will really impact the Yemeni civilians. At least, most recently, there has been a demolition of 2 electricity stations in Sana'a, and there has been harm to the Hodeidah port, the Sana'a airport, and this affects the civilians in Yemen. And there was also a demolition of warehouses of fuel, and this affects the Yemenis. But the effect on the military might of the Houthis, it happened. It actually happened, because without fuel and without electricity, how will the factories that are assembling the Iranian missiles work? They cannot.
Right. That was Mr. Ashraf Abu Al-Houl, editorial director in Al-Ahram newspaper. We thank you so much